the previous video, we started using ribbon workbench. In this video, we'll look at the different types of buttons. So we have all these types of buttons which we can add. Okay. The first one is just a normal button. Okay. So this is an example of a normal button. Save and close. Like these are examples of normal buttons. If you click on this, it will perform an action. Okay. So that is your normal button. The next one is the split button. So this is how a split button will look like. The whole button includes this one plus this down arrow. Okay. So as you can see, like if you just click on this button, you would be able to perform an action. Or you can click on the down arrow and click on some of the button options which is available for that particular split button. In this case, there's only one button option available, which is split button option 1. Similarly, you can add multiple buttons, and you can perform, and you can select whichever button you want to, and that will perform the corresponding action. So this action, that is what action needs to be performed for split button, and this one, split button option 1, can be different. It doesn't need to be the same. Like for example, this can send an email, and this can actually just update a record. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the same. So that is a split button. The next one is a flyout. Flyout is very similar to split button, but in flyout you do not have the option to just select that button like how we have over here. We can just select that particular button. Over here you don't. It is the down arrow is part of the button. So if you actually click on this button, if you've configured any action for this button, that is this flyout button, that will be triggered. So I actually configured a action for this flyout button. See what happens when I click on this button. You will see that there's a message called success, because I've actually configured an action which presents this dialog box. Okay. So yeah, other than performing that particular action, it will open up the list of buttons which is available. Okay. So yeah, that is a flyout button. The next one is the menu section. Now menu section is not a button on its own. It's basically to group the buttons into different sections to have a more organized look for the buttons. Now I've actually removed the action for the flyout button. When I click on this button, see what happens. See how it's organized. So as you can see, the buttons is grouped into two different sections, menu section 1 and menu section 2. Okay, so this is just the sample title. Okay, but yeah, you can have multiple sections for your buttons. So it's used in flyout button and split button. Okay, so in this split button I have only one menu section, but if you want you can add more. Okay. The next one is group. Group, similar to menu section, is not a button on its own. It's basically to just group buttons together. Okay, so for example, now if I open my accounts, so if you can see this small red border thing, this red rectangle, that is actually a group. Okay, so it's just to group different buttons together. The next one is smart buttons. Smart buttons perform some specific actions. So what do the smart buttons do? Using smart buttons, you can run a workflow, you can run a report, you can run a dialog action, or you can also add a quick snippet of JavaScript code which will run on that button. And it is different from the conventional button in the way that you don't need to actually create a separate web resource for it. You can write it on the fly and make the button run the JavaScript when it is clicked. So that is smart buttons. In the next video, we'll start creating some buttons.